Hey, it's Will with Outright Geekery, and I'm joined this afternoon with Jesse James from Jesse James Comics. Jesse, welcome.
I'm ready to go.
So, Scout dropped some big PR news on us today that they have partnered with you and another store that are spearheading the comic book sales network.
Right. So over the last couple of months, we tried to figure out how to incorporate not just 21 stores in the comic book shopping network, but how we got the publishers involved, not just giving us books, but having a specific reason for those books. And so what we said was, how do we go out to a publisher and get them to agree to doing, 16 to 20 exclusives, all number ones, and that made sense for all for people to buy them from our shows versus just having kind of a regular cover. So what had happened over the last couple of months, Scout was really doing a good forward charge on getting comics to stores and stores getting comics to customers. But on the flip end, they were also getting their artists and their writers involved. And so what we started doing test market shows on Comic Book Shopping Network. And so what I did was I set up a show that was just Scouts, and it was going to be an hour. We had about 250 issues ready to sell. We had the whole team from Scout on there, James, the president, David, Silverbach, all these guys, and ready to rock and roll, ready to sell some great books. And what happened is in 35 minutes, we sold out every issue. And so it was kind of our benchmark to say, okay, how do we do this better, get more comics out to people for a brand that a lot of people love? And I think they've done a great job in not just promoting our partnership, but really getting the word out that it's about getting comics to comic book stores and having those comic book stores able to sell books. I think that's the most important thing that we take from this. We have a lot of publishers out there that aren't producing books. They're talking, but we need to get books in comic book stores' hands.
Yeah, because as soon as the big lockdown kind of like eased up and let go, they were Scout was the first publisher that was like, filling up my inbox every day with PR for, this is resolicited. It's coming out this month instead of March, because it got canceled in March, April, and fast promoting books from that are coming out like first quarter next year.
Yeah,
so they got a ton of great content. So
Right. And keeping your customer base informed, I think, is tremendous. Giving them a place to buy that product, I think, is where the game starts. And so their interaction with their customer base makes it kind of easy to sell comics to customers when you're doing live shows. The thing is, if you look behind me, I can't know everything exactly about every single title, but we'll show a book and we have customers literally telling people, oh, this book is about this and this book is about that. And I think that's the amazing part when you have customers that are almost just probably more excited than the actual seller. Live shows are the challenge of our future. Because we have to be interactive, we have to be excited, we have to be informed, and then we have to have all the other little things that come into play, shipping and all that fun stuff. But I think when you start a show off and people are ready to pounce and they're ready to go and they're ready to kind of say, show me something I don't have, show me something I need, and tell me why I need it. I will tell you this, Scout is one of the first comics publishers that I've had on a show that there is zero prices resistance, whether it be a variant for $50, a regular comic for $5, a cover B for $10. People want this product. And I think exactly what you said, if people see it every day opening up their box, and it's the simple little notes that keep their brand in your head.
Definitely. Matter of fact, I was just on a Brian Paperbacks' live feed. He was redrawing a yearbook for his Loggerhead universe.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is if you can get the creators to be involved with a publisher, and interact with that customer base, specifically on their brand or their title, that just expands that brand a little bit more. I think when you get to third market, which is live sales, second market, obviously e-commerce, first market, brick and mortar. When you're on live sales, the connection a customer has is a lot different. The experience is a lot different. I know when we had Scout on, Brian was on that show, and people were, I love Loggerhead, and talking to him. And as we're showing his books, they're just selling out in the background while they have that great connection. Customers right now, they need more than a comic book. They need to be connected. They've been stuck in their home. They need a nice getaway. They need to be in a room with a lot of people that are like-minded comic book fans. I always joke around that I've done 560 shows now, live comic book shows on the Binge Bar on Comic Book Shopping Network, and my best customer spends about $5 a week, but her interaction is amazing. How she contacts with customers, they talk about families and all that stuff. So when Brian does something like that, I think it's a great, not just in him wanting to connect with his customers, but Scout giving those guys the go and the permission to do that as well.
Yeah. Now, tell us how your whole network actually functions and works.
Okay. So Comic Book Shopping Network was created on July 18th in 2018. And it was, I'm sorry, July 15th, 2018. And it's created by Jen King in Texas, Space Cadets, and it was myself. We had just talked in Baltimore to the whole comic book industry on stage, customer service and all that stuff. And we had 2 years ago decided that there had to be a different way to sell to a customer base because of the issue of so many stores closing. There were so many orphan customers that didn't actually have comic book stores. So instead of telling those customers you had to go to Second Market and eBay, we wanted to connect with them and tell them, hey, we're your comic book store. You can have the firsthand experience of buying your books direct with the seller. And so when we started off with about 5, 6 stores. And the big ones were pretty much me, Aaron Halen from A Comic Shop, and Jen. And over the years, we started to add comic book stores, whether it be Jimmy J at Amazing Comic Con, or Chris Rupp or Christina Blanche at All Yeah. And we started to get all these stores involved. And not only did we get stores, we got grassroots people that kind of sold just on the weekend out of their house. We wanted to get some of those type of people, those type of sellers in our network as well. So at the end of the day, what we have is a network of 21 stores that sell 7 days a week, about 10 hours a day. Yesterday, we had over 10,000 unique viewers watch the shows. And during those shows, it's a different genre, different flavors. And people will go to that show, whether to buy Golden Age, Silver Age, dollar books, exclusives, variants, new issues, whatever it is, and they get to choose from 21 different stores across the nation. We are in all 4 corners of the nation, and that makes it very interesting. We ship international. We have a great vetting service. So when you go look at 3,700 customers, these are vetted customers that are ready to buy. I always are hesitant to say, but we've probably denied more customers than we have just on the vetting practices. National average for, I come from corporate, national average for chargebacks, non-pays, all that stuff, returns is about 5 to 6%. The Comic Book Shopping Network has a 0.01% return issue or factor involved in it. So by vetting our customer bases, vetting our sellers, it's a great way to shop. It's universal. It's amazing to think on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, all shows have new issues for obviously DC on Tuesday and the rest of the issues on Wednesday, and every show sells out. Regardless of the last show selling out, you'd say, no one else wants to buy new issues. Next 3 shows sell out. And so it's a great experience. It's comic book. It's probably the greatest comic book therapy you can think of, because you don't have to buy. And the magic of it is an average show, anywhere from 700 to 1,000 unique people watch it. But we really only have during those shows 30 to 60 actual buyers. So it's bringing the community together. It's giving some comic book therapy, creating a great experience, and showing a lot of books.
It's awesome because I remember you were talking about this in the beginning when we first met. We were guests on another podcast,
Right.
and you were starting to talk about the direction things were going and everything else. Now, that means each one of these stores in your network, are you guys all live at the same time, or
No.
all different times?
Right. So originally how this started was, and please don't ask me why I was watching QVC at 11 o'clock at night, but I was watching QVC and, or I'm sorry, not QVC, JTV, Jewelry TV Network. And this lady was selling this watch. And she had 1,000 of them. They were from Africa, Black Diamond, and this is the best price we ever had, greatest watch we've ever had on JTV. And I was watching the counter and it was going down from 1,000 and it sold out. And so they go to commercial, they come back 15 seconds later and she's showing this watch and she's like, this is the greatest watch we've ever got from Switzerland. And I'm like, well, but the last watch was the greatest. And then I realized at that point, it didn't matter. People wanted to see a plethora of goods. They wanted to see different goods. And so when we thought of Comic Book Shopping Network, we thought, well, JTV and QVC and all these places, they have different personalities throughout the day. It's not just one salesperson selling. This person, then this person, then this person, and this person. So what we did was we decided to show this nice grouping of comic book stores. And these comic book stores would have a 2-hour block. They could sell whatever they wanted. They didn't have to be directional. They didn't have a producer from us. They just had to sling books. And so as we started to do this, we started to realize some of the smaller shows could piggyback off a big show. So we started to align them after a big show so that those customers could go see a smaller show. Those people could experience a great group of people. The great thing about Comic Book Shopping Network and our family of teams and stores across the nation is everybody shares the customer base. So when you go to Comic Book Shopping Network, all 3,700 of those buying vetted customers are yours to sell to. Now, keep in mind, the numbers in the corner does not reflect how many people are watching. You don't have to be part of Comic Book Shopping Network to watch it. You just have to be it to buy it. So during that show, you're actually doing a presentation to non-buyers and trying to get them to say, wow, I would like to buy a couple items from them. We have great shows that are back to back. We have 3 shows that are house-based out of my store. We do combined shipping with those 3. So it's really about working together and understanding the mix. And in all honesty, customers want something. They don't need specifics. They want something. And if you can present them something in the comic book world, that's a great win right there.
Well, it seems like the network has grown in leaps and bounds, and it's a very unique way to run a sales network.
Well, it is, but I think the key is, and you and me have been in this dance for a long time, getting another retailer to decide on where to eat lunch is hard enough. Who's going to pay is hard enough, even if they want to have lunch with you. So when me and Jen had pitched these to people, now I'm talking about 2 years ago, people thought we were nuts. There's no way you're going to get stores to work together, to share customers, to share sales. And what it really came down to is going to your great allies, your friends in the business that you've been in business for a long time. I think keeping a great brand name, whether it be Jesse James Comics, Space Cadets, in good check and trying to do the good deed every day and taking care of customers, I think that really came all to play. We have interviewed 300, 400 stores over the last 2 years that come on the network. A good portion of them just aren't ready for this. It's very it's a challenge because even though it's reality, comic book stores are set in their way. Wednesdays come, they buy a comic, customers buy comics. Okay, I'll see you next Wednesday. I think the big advantage that we had was because I had left Diamond, one of the first stores I think to leave Diamond this decade, but stay open, and all of a sudden become a top selling store again. I think made credence to the fact that this was something that people should try. It's not for everybody. There are tons of stores out there that do single stores. They do one or two shows a week, and that's it. They don't answer to anybody. They don't have to look at schedules, and that's great. But with us, it's about bringing community together. And to think the great thing about the Comic Book Shopping Network is the average customer shops on the Comic Book Shopping Network 4.2 times a week. The average customer spends per show is $32. That's the average times 4.21 a week. And so when you start putting together new numbers, I think one of the greatest numbers we have coming from corporate is 14% of our buyers are women. Our top 10 buyers, 7 are women. And so at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're creating a great atmosphere for people to sell comics or to buy comics from and to watch, and creating a awesome environment as well.
I always get excited when I hear, yeah, I've got lots of women that come into the store. They love comics. I'm like, really? Yeah. I've been waiting, since I was 16, I've been waiting to hear this.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I go back in my days, and for those of you that are watching or will watch this later, I started in 1982 in a comic book store. So I've got a long time of selling comics. The first couple of weeks, Jack Kirby is at the store and all this great stuff. I haven't missed the San Diego Con since 1983. Well, minus this year. So I had this great tradition, this great foundation behind me, but I also retired from Nordstrom, where a plethora of your buyers are women and managers are women. And so you get into this track that you got to create this atmosphere for everybody to be able to buy. I don't go out there and promote that. Oh my gosh, look how many women we sell. But I want people to know that's the environment that we have created. I think, when I look back at pictures, I took this great picture in 1982, and it's me over the counter. I'm taking these pictures, and it's 12 to 18-year-old guys buying comics. And I posted a picture about a year ago, same picture, store filled, and it was 40 to 60-year-old guys buying comics. So it's the same picture. We haven't evolved from that, but when you get into the live scene and you realize we're going into people's households, I think that's what makes it great.
Yeah, and you've built a big community inside the network, and you've got X amount of stores sharing like tens of thousands of customers.
Yeah. I think it's that, but I think it's the fact that we're responsible. If you watch my regular page, just my personal page, I have about 4,800 people on there. On my Just James Comics page, we have about 50,000 people that follow us on there. We're a proactive, good story page. We only talk about good stories. I think it's about fun. I don't see any negativity in the comic book world. I don't believe in it. I don't subscribe to it, and I don't drink it. I just know when people come to us, they're looking to buy comics. They don't care about the industry. I know the biggest question to me this week, which I thought was a great question with all the DC news, was every single question to me was, we're still getting our DC comics next week, right? Absolutely. Because that's what customers want. They want to know that their happy place is the network. When customers walk into a store and they're slamming their phone outside and they're slamming their door and they're yelling and screaming, they walk inside, they're the happiest people in the world. They walk outside with a great bag of comics. They're ready to go. They're ready to tackle the world. And I think if you keep that in play, I think you will always be fine. Just on some of the people that comment that have become great friends of mine. Some of these people I will never meet in my life. But I consider them great friends, great supporters of not just the Binge Bar Comic Book Shopping Network. I'll give you a prime example. We had our 500 show. We had I believe it was 450 exclusives. That is a total of 5 exclusives that day. To be able to open up your show and have 400 exclusives all sell out in 30 minutes tells you the support we have from our customer base. I've had the honor of doing 289 store exclusives. I know it's a lot of work and you put a lot into it. But when you have such a great comic book base, it makes it so easy to go forward with these. We have our next, I think, 21 already lined up with no worries or thoughts in our heads.
Yeah, because I saw when you went live with Marat's Iron Maiden. Do you poos? And they just exploded and blew out.
Right. I think the great thing that I love about this comic book industry, it's the one industry coming from corporate that you can do anything you say you want to do, anything your goals you want to do. When I look back and say, listen, I have 2 Guinness Book of World Records, but I did with Rob Liefeld doing my cover and Peter Steigerwald and Mark Silvestri. I'd never fathomed that I would be able to do that. And then we did it twice, just as much fun. The notion that you can talk to anybody you want in this industry and create great friendships and partnerships that are amazing that you would never think of. This 12-year-old was dead set on being an Overstreet advisor and was told for years, obviously in my teens, I couldn't be. One day I just walked into their meeting in Baltimore about 10 years ago, said, this is why I need to be an Overstreet advisor. Now I'm a senior Overstreet advisor. There's nothing you can't do. But I think the great thing about this is the fact that this 12-year-old was an Iron Maiden fan. And this Iron Maiden fan got to do homage Iron Maiden Do You Poos with one of his great friends, Marat Michaels. And so everything I think that you do in this industry should have a little bit of flavor from yourself and some excitement from yourself that allows customers to be part of that. We've done some great exclusives. When we did Power Rangers, we did 11 exclusives, connecting covers. But at the end, it was kind of like, okay, cool, we did that. Now, when I do an exclusive, it's listening to the fan base and watching their excitement as they're buying these covers live. I think there's nothing like this. Was this the plan when I woke up one day and said to my 400 plus box holders, I don't want to carry new issues anymore. I'm going to show you where to go buy your books? No, it wasn't. But it's become something that, you look back at and you say, man, imagine if I'd done this 4 years ago. But this is where we're at. And I will tell you, what you folks see today will blow you away what you're going to see in the next couple of weeks. We have some great surprises for the industry, not just the comic book fans, that will include almost every facet of the industry.
Well, I'll be looking forward to hearing about that from you too. Yeah.
We'll throw you the sneak peek on that. And this is something that we said, Comic Book Shopping Network, fantastic, great. Just a wonderful thing to have Brian Polito on there. He has his own shows on Monday. Tom from Big Dog Inc. He has his shows on Wednesday. Publishers involved. But we turned around and we said, listen, we don't have all the time for all these people. So how do you create this next pivotal platform that involves everybody? So we're very excited. This has been going on for probably about a year. But I tell you what, it's about listening to customers, ignoring kind of the environment, which I know is tough. Listen, I have an 8,000 square foot store. We haven't been open to the public for 4 months. So at the end of the day, we just continue to pivot and understand that you have to find a way to sell customers comics. There's never a bad time to do your show. Literally, we could go live right now and I could sell 100 of these QT cups with Diet Dr. Pepper with cherry spice in it. Everybody needs to have one of those, and we could sell those all day, and that's a great thing. Also, the fact that you can PM me an hour and a half ago, and we're doing this show. Mm-hmm. I think the future is unlimited, and shows like yourself, team members like we have on Comic Book Shopping Network, all the people that do their own shows. Brian and his huge Kickstarter yesterday. If we could all do those, I just want to point out that Brian did his first Kickstarter in my store, just FYI to the people out there. And the notion that anybody can do anything, I think has allowed us to, I probably reach a little bit farther than we normally would in the comic book industry. I don't know if you know my history. At the beginning, the first 2 years, I was going to 50 to 70 cons a month. A year. Sometimes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was at 3 different cons, but I would show up in a suit and I'd have my laptop and I was ready to go because I came from big business world. And when you got into it, kind of drastic, but now we're seeing the comic publishers that we would say were small press. Guess what? They're no longer indie publishers anymore. They're leading the way, and I think they're very. They like to listen.
Yeah,
and
a lot of them are taking over and creeping up on the big two.
Yeah, and the big 2, the big 3, the big 4, the big 5. I think when you start thinking of those companies, listen, I do great business with Boom. I love Boom. We have a fantastic partnership with them, but they also know that they have to keep on moving. They have to keep on shaking. They have to keep on signing deals, because in the comic book industry, it's very simple. Once you get past, it's very tough to catch up. It just is, and it's always been like that. And I think the people that realize that no cape, no mask characters now are huge. Mm-hmm. And look, I could look behind me and say, point out the superhero. We got a lot of action heroes there. Superheroes, not so much. People, listen, I've learned one thing. People like to read about people, about action heroes, that actually could be them. They could actually be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because there's so much, and this is, I think, the best time I've ever seen for anybody that's a horror fan in the comic genre.
Yeah, I think in several strong women. It's always been cheesecake. Now we have strong women that lead the world in the comic book industry and sales. Mm-hmm. We have a great lady, I think she's in Charlotte, opening up a comic book store, and everybody's excited about her doing her comic book store and her coffee shop. The name is, I'm missing out right now on that. I would love to give her a plug, but I can't. But at the end of the day, people want to know they can do it. And if they know they can do it, and they can be part of it in some way, shape, or form, that's why Kickstarters are so successful. People are part of that publisher, part of that indie guy. They have a great local friend who, when we talk, oh man, if I could do $5,000, I'm going to be so excited. And he ended up doing $28,000 for a guy that's starting off doing doodle night at my store. And so at the end of the day, I think if you can put everything going on and just think about the goodness going on, reading the NFL Super Pro #1 or Team America #5, I think is what makes this comic book world go around. When it gets to horror, I think everybody knows it cycles, right? So you have different genres at different time, where horror has really come back in a supernatural way, where people can actually imagine themselves in the cabin, type mm-hmm. deal. And I think that's they fighting off people with pitchforks, or a Rick and Morty show where he's fighting them with a spoon, or whatever it is. I think we're so connected now with the comic books and comic book world that I think you can distract yourself from the bad and watch the good, because there's so much of it.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff out there, so much good talent, and I don't think I've ever seen so much comic book talent that are reaching out to their customer base on social media just to talk to them and interact with them.
Right, and keep in mind that was a no-no. That wasn't something that they were allowed to do. I'll tell you a quick story. In 1992, I was in line to get something signed by Wells Portaccio. Can't remember what it was. And me, in 1982, having stuff signed on the inside cover, and they tell you a story on a panel and all that. Well, I hand my book to Wilson. He signs the cover, and I go, "What the heck are you doing? You just ruined my book." And I went through this tantrum, and I could not believe they had signed the cover of my book. Now, why would you sign the inside? You definitely want to sign the cover. So we evolve, and I think creators have this great lifeline because publishers can print their stuff and a media release, but no one tells the story better than the creator. No one tells the story better than a artist. Right now, we're telling a great story about comic books, Comic Book Shopping Network, Scout Comics, and you're hearing it. You're not just reading it, you're hearing the excitement. And I think there's more creators out there that need to be voiceful. I think there's creators out there that realize you don't have to be on a forum that talks about negativity. Create your own positive post, and go forward with that. A prime example: I was at QT's today, and I'm ordering some food, and my printout comes out, and I'm customer 666, and the guy grabs it real fast. He goes, "You know what? Let me reprint that for you. And I'll just make it 667 so you don't have to worry about it." I said, "No, give that back to me. That's social media marketing 101 there. Give me that." So what do? I post that with a picture with a bunny, and my hugs are free from Chucky. You have to be better than yesterday. You have to speak better than yesterday, and you have to stay on point about goodness in the comic book industry. It will follow you. Yes, is there bad stuff happening in the industry? Absolutely. What can I do for it? Nothing but sell books. Just because I sell DC Comics doesn't mean I sell DC Comics from the 1970s as well on my show. So at the end of the day, I am asking creators around the world, publishers around the world, make your customer base part of your family. Don't be afraid to say anything. Give them little nuggets here and there. The best promoter of a world is a customer. We already know that. And I think if you follow those bases, it's fine. I will tell you, the second the Scout announcement came up, my phone exploded from friends across this industry just saying, "Congratulations. Thank you for opening up another door." I think the one thing, Will, people are looking for is they're looking for hope. And hope beats all.
And hope springs eternal at Jesse James Comics with Scout.
Yep. Yeah. And so basically, in a nutshell, we have a plethora of number ones coming out over the next year and a half. We've pretty much signed a deal to do every number one. So any number one coming out, we will have an exclusive to it. Now, I also want to put out there that Just James Comics itself has some exclusives coming out with Scout that aren't CBSN flavored. They're binge bar Jesse James Comics flavored. I think they're scheduled as our exclusives 290 and 293, 295 or something like that. So we ourselves will also engage in exclusives for our store. We are in talks with many of other publishers on exclusives. I think the one thing with exclusives, it's a matter of being great product out there, having a great price level. I will challenge some of the other exclusive companies out there to sell out. That is the goal of an exclusive, is to sell out, not to make 3,000 copies, sell 500, liquidate the other 2,500. Be smart, get great covers out there, great content, but make sure you sell out low print runs. And at the end of the day, great prices. And then take these opportunities to go live on air and literally express your thankfulness for your customer base and all your friends in this industry that even in my lowest days, the day after, and I had to call people and tell them I wasn't going to do the full box with them. Some people have been with me day one. Those were the friends that called me up and said, "Keep your head high. We know that you did it for a reason." I have a great benefit that I get to talk to Steve Jeffy every 3-4 days. He watches my shows. And so he's a very good mentor for me, and he makes me know I can work harder every show. So that's kind of the key. And then the final thing is not to get caught up into this. As I talked to shows this morning about making sure that you remain that store owner, where we know that once you do a lot of shows, you kind of get star status, even though you don't want it. Stay humble, bring yourself back into place. And as long as that happens, you can turn on your camera and people will come on. It does not matter what time of the day it is. Literally, if you watch one of my shows, people come into my show and they apologize for being late. I overslept. I had to stay after work. I had a flat tire. I'm like, dude, awesome. I'm glad you're here. But when you create that environment, it's almost like it's lunchtime, folks. You really need to be here on time. Don't just come when we're serving dessert. And I think that's the great thing about it. The one thing that I take away from Comic Book Shopping Network is the fact that the show that's ending is promoting the next show. There's nothing like it. I listen to the shows before me, so I know when to go on, because obviously they run late or go off early sometimes. And to hear them saying, folks, don't go away. Jesse James and the Binge Bar show 560 is on next. You got to join them, and you're closing up your store or show and you're talking about the next show. Go shop with them. Our shows are late. Keep in mind, our shows are 8 to 10 p.m. We have shows that literally go off or go on at 10 and go to 2 a.m. in the morning. And believe it or not, the 10 to 2 a.m. morning or the late night shows are the most viewed shows we have. So I will tell you, at the end of the day, I could go on and on and on. But the great thing is Scout Comics, Comic Book Shopping Network are going to bring you an awesome grouping of comics that you're going to love, you're going to want, and we're not going to stop. And we're going to keep on producing great comics for comic book buyers to buy.
Well, great. I want to thank you for coming on and telling everybody about this and giving us a little more information than we got in the press release from Scout this morning.
My pleasure.
All the best with Scout, and we look forward to jumping into one of the Binge Bar shows.
There you go. Awesome. All right, brother. Thank you very much. You have a good day. Thank you for having me on.
Yep. Take care now.